Good morning. Our topic for the business analytics poster making competition this year is Does foreign aid promote economic growth in developing countries? Presented by Siddharth Dani, Shahnoza Ahmadova, Rihanaz, and Shreya Banerjee. Our inspiration for the project aligns with our values of us trying to make this world a better place. To focus on the changes within the developing countries of the world, we have decided to analyze the effects of foreign aid on low income developing countries under the OECD organization. The concept of foreign aid dates back to 1947. Right after the Second World War, US funded Marshall Plan and was directed to reconstruct Europe after the decimation of the European economy. There are typically two types of foreign aid, bilateral and multilateral. Bilateral is the capital flow from one government to another, while multilateral is capital flow via agencies such as UN, WFO, etc. These aids could be in the form of a grant, a contribution, or loan. There have been several researches done in the past to analyze the effects of foreign aid on the GDP per capita growth of a country. Although it's fair to say foreign aid affects promoting the economic growth of a country, however, there have always been two schools of thought about whether the effect is positive or negative. Morrissey, an economist, published a paper in 2001 stating that aid contributes to growth through investments in physical infrastructure, increase in imports, and transfer of the technology and intellectual knowledge to stimulate the local economy. While another economist, McGill, claim that external factors such as political contributions, climatic conditions, and how a government uses the money that they receive have have had a positive influence. But these factors could also lead to corruption. Although the world has witnessed the positive effect of aid in the last 50 years with an increase in global GDP of low income countries by over 50%, UN has witnessed a significant rise in aid in Asian developing countries in the last few decades. Unfortunately, a high number of sub Saharan African countries still live below the poverty line. The research strategy is performed as grounded theory based on the applied approach. First of all, as the theory has been conducted and supported with previous research papers in the form of literature review, the attention is going to be paid on collection and testing the secondary data. World Bank development indicators were a reliable source to obtain the secondary data for the dependent variable and all explanatory variables and based on panel data set over the period of 28 years, that is between 1990 and 2017, for the sample of 23 low-income developing countries all over the world. The main reason to choose a panel data is its ability to capture time series and cross-section variations in variables. To further our research, we wanted to check for inconsistencies in the dataset. So we performed few data cleaning techniques such as renaming the files, filling the incomplete values with the means of means with our explanatory variables of the respective countries. We have dropped certain unnecessary columns and we have further divided our dataset into two separate time frames, that is 1990 to 2000 and 2000 to 2017. We did this in order to understand the pattern of aid and the changes since the hyperglobalization began.
Methodology. Our main hypothesis for the research was foreign aid has a positive impact on economic growth of developing countries, along with a few corresponding hypotheses in our research. First hypothesis being the effect of foreign aid differs by period before 2000 and after. Second hypothesis being the aid has diminishing returns to scale for low income countries, following up to what McGurvey said in his paper in 2006. Third hypothesis is W open index is positively related to a growth of a developing country. Model specifications. To estimate our hypothesis, we utilized a model from a paper written by Ekanakyake and Chandra in 2012, but adjusted it to our estimates. The model derived from a production function laid out on our slide. It includes domestic capital, labor input, and foreign aid. A general representation is mentioned on our slide along with the growth expression. Building a neoclassical growth model. In order to work with our panel data to estimate the relationship between foreign aid and GDP growth, we employed the panel least squares technique. However, in our model, savings has been replaced as a percentage of GDP to refer the close relationship between national savings and investments. Level of savings determines the level of investment, which can explain the availability of capital. Annual population growth is used as a proxy for labor input, and foreign aid is a percentage of GDP, while we use ODA as a proxy for foreign aid. We also assume there is a non-linear relationship between aid and economic growth, so we have added a quadratic aid term in our model. Here we can see the descriptive statistics on an interactive dashboard of the selected 23 low-income countries over the 28-year time frame. There is evidence, if we see here, that the GDP is growing at an average rate of 1.6% each year, and the foreign aid accounts to an average of 7.39% of the GDP of that country. This alone can give you a brief on a positive correlation between foreign aid and GDP. If you remember our first hypothesis, if it says there's a difference in how GDP has been affected by aid before the year 2000 and after. If we see here, there is a slight decrease in aid from 1990 to 1999, but it takes a sudden upward momentum from the year 2000. And similarly, the growth in GDP for these developing countries has been almost consistent and exponential during those years. We can also prove that there is diminishing returns to aid over the years if we have a look at Vietnam and Pakistan, as they have received an almost equal amount of funding during the years. Vietnam and Pakistan. If we see here, since both of them have received an equal amount of funding or foreign aid over the years, we can compare how they have performed in their GDP per capita. If I run a time lapse over the years, I will be able to notice that in the year 2000, Vietnam actually overtakes Pakistan as GDP per capita, proving that although you will receive consistent funding over the years from foreign aid, but if you're not doing well or you're not improving economical or technological innovations, your GDP will over the years slump. We ran a basic linear regression model with all our estimates, and our results were inconclusive with a moderately positive error rate. So we decided to perform several diagnostic tests to understand the limitations of our current model.
Number of statistical problems in the dataset, like non-stationarity, multicollinearity, and heteroscedasticity. Therefore, we have conducted several diagnostic tests to see whether our datasets suffer from those statistical errors. Since the variables are subject to change over time, leading to non-stationarity, estimated R-squared coefficients will be so high that may result in biased conclusions. Therefore, first and foremost, we have conducted unit root tests to check panel data for its stationarity to make sure that variance and mean are stable across time. As can be concluded from the table, p-values accounted for each variable stands at less than 5%, meaning that all variables are stationary. Multicollinearity is a state where the two variables are highly correlated and contain similar information about the variance. A width between 5 and 10 indicates problematic correlation. As indicated in the table, almost all variables don't show multicollinearity. Moreover, the BITE test is a statistical test that establishes whether the variances of errors in the regression model is constant. Based on the results shown, the null hypothesis is rejected at 5% significance level, confirming the existence of heteroscedasticity problem within the dataset. As visible from the graph, there is an indication of unequal distribution of variances along the trend line, showing heteroscedasticity. Since the object of sample is built based on panel data, fixed effects models is being conducted because it's considered to be effective measure for controlling for all time invariant differences between the individuals omitted variable bias and is constant across individuals. Fixed effect regression model estimation with robust errors has been conducted to eliminate the heteroscedasticity error from the model. The fixed effect regression with robust errors indicated R square is more than 30% regarding the sample of 23 low-income countries from 1998 to 2017. Official development assistance indicators has a positive account with statistical significance, meaning that 1% increase in ODE will increase to 24 percentage increase in the economic growth of 23 developing countries, highlighting the importance of official development assistance. Even though variable of interest, aid divided by GDP has a positive coefficient and statistically significant, aid squared has a negative correlation by statistical significance in three low-income countries. Therefore, the first hypothesis is failed to be rejected, meaning that the effect of aid start diminishing after some point, which means that low-income countries have capacity constraint for incoming aid flows. Trade as a percentage GDP has been used to indicate the openness as well, which shows the significant result with a positive sign accordingly. Overall outcomes represented the effect of eight variables higher than the other variables to the domestic income per capita. To sum up, our results for the low-income countries is found to be reliable and meaningful, meaning that contribution of aid to the economic growth of 23 developing countries is indisputable important.
To conclude our presentation, we focused on the research of 23 low-income developing countries. The effects of foreign aid were analyzed from the period 1990 to 2017. We employed the panel data techniques observed in Ekanakia's and Chandra's paper in 2012 and combined it with trade openness and panel data estimation methods. If we take a look at our empirical evidence, it suggests a positive impact of foreign aid on low-income developing countries. And a few other observations include impact of foreign aid is much bigger on low-income developing countries than on all aid recipients. Aid of diminishing returns prove there is decline in effectiveness of aid over time. This also assists the world to knowing that overhelping these aid recipient countries is not always a good thing. Moreover, it lays out the effective utilization of aid in low income countries would lead to a stable increase of foreign aid inflows in this country, like we did see in the case of Vietnam. Policy recommendations and limitations. A few policy recommendations for this project would be we must improve the macroeconomic conditions to provide a stable economic climate with low rates of inflation, a free market supply policy, and promote privatization and deregulation to stimulate private sector investments, government interventionist supply side policies to increase spending on public goods such as education, public transport, and healthcare, promote exports for the inflow of foreign currency, and diversification from an agrarian dependency to manufacturing. The limitations of our project were we were limited to a 23 low-income developing countries dataset. Account for corruption and political scenarios of each country weren't taken in place, and a more comprehensive research using an advanced econometric technique would lay out a more positive result. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed our presentation.